I'm Elizabeth, 40 years old with 2 kids, married to Issac for almost 2 decades. Life's been like a roller coaster, but having good people with you makes it bearable. That changed when my younger brother Harry, 8 years my junior, started making bad decisions and taking control. One Sunday, we were at Mom's place, our family sanctuary. Harry barged in with a smug smile, accompanied by a young pregnant woman named Elizabeth. It was clear they were engaged. Mom, Issac, and I were shocked. Elizabeth's flashy dress didn't suit the family setting, and Harry seemed oblivious. Harry declared they were getting married, and Mom was visibly worried. Elizabeth's attitude didn't help. They planned to stay with Mom until they found their place. That night, after putting the kids to bed, Issac expressed concern. He said Harry was taking advantage of Mom and being irresponsible. I knew he was right. Harry was causing chaos, and we were all in his path. The following days were a blur of Harry and Elizabeth making themselves at home, with little regard for Mom's efforts. Elizabeth treated Mom's living room like her personal lounge, and Harry didn't lift a finger to help. Mom worked tirelessly, but they never said thank you. Harry's actions were causing damage, and we wondered how much more before he moved on. One evening, I found Mom alone in the kitchen, looking older than her years. I couldn't hold back and told her she couldn't let Harry and Elizabeth walk all over her. She sighed, saying Harry was her son, and she couldn't turn them away. I wanted to scream to make her see she was being used, but I held back. Family is complicated, and sometimes love means turning a blind eye, even when you know you shouldn't. And so began our new normal with Harry and Elizabeth, the ungrateful guests. The rest of us tried to keep the peace in a suddenly too small house. Little did I know this was just the calm before the storm. Living with Harry and Elizabeth turned our lives upside down. Every morning, Elizabeth's loud complaints about her backache or cravings filled the house. She'd stroll into the kitchen, still in her pajamas, demanding breakfast like she owned the place. "Elizabeth, make me some of those pancakes, will you? The baby's craving them." She'd say, not a please in sight. I gritted my teeth, trying to keep my cool. Harry was no help either, always lounging on the couch, feet up, glued to his laptop or gaming. "Hey, when's breakfast?" He'd yell, not even bothering to look up. Mom tried to play peacemaker, reminding me they were just young, and that we were probably the same at their age. I didn't have it. We never acted like entitled brats. Things got worse as Elizabeth's due date approached. She left a trail of mess wherever she went, dishes piled up, and laundry was forgotten. She spent hours on the phone gossiping. One day, I snapped. I found her in the living room, feet once again on the coffee table, talking loudly to a friend. I told Harry we needed a new car, something safe for the baby. I marched in, telling Elizabeth, "This isn't a hotel. You can't just expect everyone to clean up after you." She rolled her eyes, saying, "Chill. Elizabeth, I'm pregnant, remember?" Harry finally chimed in, telling me to lay off her because she was carrying his kid. I shot back. Being pregnant doesn't give you a free pass to be a slob. Mom came in, wringing her hands, pleading for us not to fight because it's not good for the baby. I looked at Mom, her face drawn and tired, thinking, this isn't right. Mom, you're running yourself ragged for them. But Mom wouldn't listen. Their family, Elizabeth. What can we do? The days dragged on, and Harry and Elizabeth would disappear for hours, leaving Mom to babysit their mess. They'd return with shopping bags, laughing about their day out. One evening, I overheard them planning a lavish wedding. "We need the best, babe. It's our day," Harry said, his arm around Elizabeth. Elizabeth giggled. "Of course, and your mom can help with the expenses, right?" I couldn't believe my ears. I confronted them. "You're planning a wedding you can't afford and expecting Mom to foot the bill." Harry shrugged. "Why not? She's got the money." I was livid, telling them they couldn't keep using Mom as their ATM. But my words fell on deaf ears. They just laughed and continued their planning, leaving me fuming. Life in Mom's house had gone from bad to unbearable. Elizabeth gave birth to a baby boy, Stark, And instead of slowing down, it only gave them more excuses. One morning, I found Mom washing a mountain of dishes while Elizabeth was sprawled on the sofa, cooing at Stark, and Harry playing some game on his phone. "Why are you doing all these dishes, Mom?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom sighed. "Elizabeth needs to rest. And Harry's busy." I glanced at Elizabeth. "Busy doing what, Elizabeth? You can't just leave everything to Mom." Elizabeth shot me a look. "I just had a baby, Elizabeth. I'm not supposed to stress myself." Harry didn't even look up. "Yeah, Elizabeth, back off. You don't know how hard it is." I couldn't believe it. "Hard? You call sitting on your butt all day hard?" Mom tried to calm things down, saying it was okay, and that she didn't mind, but I was past caring. "No, it's not okay. You're not their servant." It was like talking to a wall. Harry and Elizabeth just didn't care. They'd leave the house for hours, leaving Mom to take care of Stark. They'd come back with bags of clothes and gadgets, bragging about their great deals. The situation was becoming more frustrating and unjust by the day. One day, I found a receipt on the table, a designer dress for Elizabeth, costing more than what most people make in a week. I confronted them, asking Harry where they got the money for this and why Mom was paying for their lifestyle. Harry shrugged, unbothered, saying, "She's our mom, Elizabeth. She wants to help." I was furious, telling him they were bleeding her dry. Elizabeth chimed in, smirking. "If she's willing, why not? Besides, what's it to you?" I couldn't take it anymore. I had to talk to Mom alone. "Mom, you can't keep giving them money. They're using you." Mom shook her head, saying she couldn't abandon them, especially not Stark. I tried to reason, but they weren't even trying to be responsible. Harry wasn't looking for a job, and Elizabeth was spending Mom's money recklessly. Mom looked away, her voice barely a whisper. "I know, Elizabeth, but they're my children. I have to help them." I felt helpless, watching my family fall apart, with Harry and Elizabeth acting like leeches, draining everything and giving nothing back. Mom, bless her heart, was too kind to see it. I didn't know how much more I could take. The breaking point seemed near, and I feared what would happen when we finally reached it. Things took a turn for the worse when Mom suddenly fell ill. It happened so fast. One day she was her usual self, and the next she was bedridden, looking frail. I was at her bedside, holding her hand, telling her she would get through this. Mom gave me a tired smile, saying, "I'm just worn out, Elizabeth. I've lived a good life." Harry and Elizabeth were nowhere to be seen, probably out spending more of Mom's money. I couldn't hide my anger anymore. "Where are they, Mom? Why aren't they here helping?" Mom's eyes were sad. "They have their own lives, Elizabeth. Don't be too hard on them." But I couldn't let it go. Their own lives? They're living off you, Mom? And now, when you need them the most, they're absent. Mom sighed, and it broke my heart to see her defeated and alone. Then the inevitable happened. Mom passed away quietly one night, with me by her side. Harry and Elizabeth were out, probably having the time of their lives, oblivious to the tragedy unfolding at home. The funeral was a blur, with Harry and Elizabeth arriving looking like they were going to a party rather than mourning a loss. Elizabeth's dress was inappropriately short and flashy, even for a funeral. People were murmuring, and Issac squeezed my hand, trying to offer some comfort. After the service, Harry pulled me aside. "Elizabeth, we need to talk about Mom's will." I was still in shock from losing Mom. "Can't this wait, Harry?" He was insistent, saying, "No, it can't. I know she left the house to me. We need to sort this out." I couldn't believe his audacity. "Harry, Mom just died. Can't you show a little respect?" But Harry was relentless. "This is important, Elizabeth. I'm her son. I deserve it." The day after the funeral, I went to Mom's house to start sorting through her things. But when I got there, Elizabeth answered the door with a smug look. "What do you want, Elizabeth?" she sneered. Taken aback, I said I came to collect some of Mom's things. Elizabeth laughed, a cold, harsh sound. "Oh, you didn't hear? This is our house now. Harry got everything." Harry appeared behind her, grinning. Yeah, Elizabeth, Mom changed her will. The house, the money, it's all mine. I felt a surge of anger and disbelief. You're lying. Mom would never do that. Harry shrugged. Believe what you want, but the will is clear. This is my house now. I stood there on the doorstep of the house I grew up in, feeling like a stranger. The realization hit me hard. Not only had I lost my mother, but now I was losing my childhood home to my greedy brother and his manipulative wife. As I walked away, I knew this wasn't the end. I had to fight back for Mom, for my family, and for what was right. Little did I know the battle ahead would be tougher than anything I'd faced before. Nerves consumed me as I walked into the notary's office. The whole situation felt like a bad dream. Losing Mom was hard enough, but fighting with Harry over her will was something I never imagined. The notary, Mr. Jacobs, was an old family friend. He looked up as I entered, his face somber. Elizabeth, I'm sorry for your loss. Let's get straight to the matter at hand. I nodded, trying to steady my voice. Mr. Jacobs, Harry says Mom left everything to him. That can't be true. Mr. Jacobs shuffled some papers. Well, let's see what the will says. Harry and Elizabeth walked in, all smugness and arrogance. Elizabeth gave me a triumphant smirk. Ready to lose, Elizabeth? I ignored her, focusing on Mr. Jacobs. He cleared his throat and began reading the will. My heart pounded in my chest as he reached the part where Mom's wishes for her son were revealed. I braced myself for the worst. But then Mr. Jacobs said something that made my heart leap. The sum of $5,000. Harry's face fell. What? That's it? Mr. Jacobs continued. And to my daughter Elizabeth, I leave the family home and the remainder of my estate. I couldn't believe it. Relief and disbelief washed over me. Elizabeth was furious. That's impossible. She promised us the house. Mr. Jacobs looked at them sternly. There's more. It appears your mother made this last will a month ago after expressing concerns about undue pressure from certain family members. Harry erupted with anger. She wanted me to have the house. I couldn't help but feel a sense of justice. Mom knew what you were doing, Harry. She knew you were using her. Harry turned to me, his eyes blazing. You did this. You turned her against me. Elizabeth chimed in, her voice shrill. We'll contest this. We'll get a lawyer. Mr. Jacobs raised an eyebrow. You're free to do so. But be aware, if it's found that there was any coercion involved in the previous will, there could be legal consequences. Harry and Elizabeth looked at each other, their confidence wavering. I stood up, feeling stronger than I had in months. Mom saw through your greed. She made sure her last wishes were respected. Harry stormed out, cursing under his breath, with Elizabeth trailing behind him. I stayed back, thanking Mr. Jacobs as I left the office. I felt a mix of emotions, sadness for losing Mom, relief that her last wishes were honored, and lingering anger at Harry and Elizabeth's audacity. It was a regular afternoon when Harry stormed into the house, his face red with anger and disbelief. $100,000 for you and just a measly $5,000 for me? How is that fair, Elizabeth? I was sorting through some of Mom's papers, but his outburst made me pause. Harry, that's what Mom decided. You know she always had her reasons. He slammed his hand on the table, making me jump. Reasons? What reasons could she possibly have to screw me over like this? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. Maybe because you and Elizabeth have been bleeding her dry for years. Harry's face contorted with rage. That's what we deserve. That money is ours. That's when I found it tucked away in a drawer. A letter from Mom. Her handwriting was unmistakable. I pulled it out and started reading. Harry's eyes were fixed on me, a mix of curiosity and fear. What's that? I said. It's from Mom. She explains everything here. The letter laid it out in black and white. Mom had originally set aside $100,000 each for Harry and me. But as Harry and Elizabeth's demands for money grew, she started deducting from his share. I looked up at Harry, his face a picture of shock. By the time she wrote her last will, you'd already taken $95,000, Harry. There was only $5,000 left. Harry staggered back as if he'd been physically hit. No, that can't be true. I felt a surge of anger. It's all here, Harry. Every cent you and Elizabeth took came out of your inheritance. He looked lost, his eyes darting around the room. But I didn't know. That's the problem, Harry. You never knew or cared to know. I snapped, my patience wearing thin. He slumped into a chair, burying his face in his hands. What have I done, Elizabeth? I put the letter down, feeling a mix of pity and frustration. You've only got yourself to blame, Harry. You chose this path. Harry left the house that day a broken man. I watched him go, feeling a sense of justice, but also a deep sadness. Our family was torn apart, not just by grief, but by greed and ignorance. The house, once a battleground of family feuds, was now eerily quiet. Harry and Elizabeth had left, cutting off all contact with me. It was a relief and a curse, leaving me to wrestle with the aftermath of their chaos. As I sat in the living room, staring at the walls that had witnessed so much, my friend May called. Elizabeth, have you heard about Harry? I braced myself. No, what now? She hesitated. He's been spotted around town looking for jobs, and Elizabeth, she's been seen with different men, flaunting around like she's single. My heart sank. And Stark, their son. May shook her head. No sign of him, Elizabeth. It's like they've forgotten they have a child. I slammed my fist on the table, fury boiling inside me. They're irresponsible, selfish. They don't deserve a child. May tried to calm me. Elizabeth, maybe there's something you can do. Her words sparked an idea. You're right. I'll fight for Stark. He shouldn't suffer because of them. The next day, I met with a lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Miss Rivera. I explained everything, my voice trembling with determination. So, you want to pursue custody of your nephew? Miss Rivera asked, her eyes sharp. I nodded firmly. Yes, he's in a toxic environment. I want to give him a better life. Miss Rivera leaned forward. It won't be easy, Elizabeth, but if you're ready to fight, I'm with you. I felt a surge of resolve. I'm ready, whatever it takes. The legal battle that followed was tough. Harry and Elizabeth were unpredictable, sometimes cooperative, sometimes hostile. But I didn't back down. One evening, after a particularly grueling day in court, Issac wrapped his arms around me. You're doing the right thing, Elizabeth. It's hard but right. I leaned into his embrace, exhausted. But hopeful. I just want Stark to be safe, to have a family that cares. The day the judge granted me temporary custody of Stark was bittersweet. He was a sweet boy, confused and scared, but he slowly opened up to us. Hannah and Max adored him, and he brought a new kind of joy into our home. Harry's reaction was a mix of anger and defeat. You've taken everything from me, Elizabeth. I faced him, my voice unwavering. I'm protecting Stark, something you should have done. As Harry stormed off, I realized our relationship might never be repaired. But this wasn't about us. It was about a little boy who needed a stable home. Life with Stark was a new adventure. There were challenges, of course, but also laughter and love. He was becoming a part of our family, and I was determined to make it permanent. Looking back, I knew I'd made the right decision. It was time for new beginnings for all of us, a chance to heal, to grow, and to build a future filled with love and stability. That was the legacy I wanted to leave, a stark contrast to the selfishness and greed that had once threatened to tear us apart. The house, once a reminder of familial discord, was now filled with laughter and the pitter-patter of little feet. Stark had become a part of our lives, his presence a constant source of joy and wonder. One evening, as we were tucking him into bed, he looked up at me with those big, innocent eyes. Aunt Elizabeth, am I going to stay here forever? I smoothed his hair, my heart swelling. Yes, Stark, you're part of our family now. He smiled, his tiny hand gripping mine. I like it here. Hannah and Max are fun. I kissed his forehead. We love having you here, sweetie. As I walked out of his room, Issac was waiting, a proud smile on his face. He's settling in, isn't he? I nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. He is. We're giving him the life he deserves. The next day, I received a call from Miss Rivera. Elizabeth, it's official. The court has granted you full custody of Stark. I nearly dropped the phone, tears of happiness welling up. Thank you, Miss Rivera. Thank you for everything. After hanging up, I shared the news with the family. Hannah and Max cheered, hugging Stark in a group embrace. Even John had tears in his eyes. We're a family, John said, his voice choked with emotion. A real, complete family. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but we had come out stronger. I thought about Harry and Elizabeth. Wherever they were, I hoped they would find their way. But my focus was now on the children, our family. In the months that followed, Stark blossomed. He was no longer the timid boy we first met. He was confident, happy, and loved. One day, while we were all in the garden, Stark came running up to me, a dandelion in his hand. Look, Aunt Elizabeth, I made a wish. I crouched down to his level. And what did you wish for? He grinned, his eyes sparkling. I wished we'd all be together forever. I hugged him tight. That's the best wish, Stark, and it's come true. As I've looked around at my family, I felt a deep sense of peace. We had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. Our future was filled with hope, love, and the promise of new beginnings. This was our story, a testament to the strength of family and the power of love. It was a future of hope, and we were ready to embrace it with open arms. I hope you guys enjoy our video. To watch more interesting videos, subscribe to our channel. Thank you.